I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front post! He scored! Harry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line to throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 21, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm riding. Sipping low-key and hiding. My rider. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. You come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype.
Good evening, everybody. God, that intro is way too positive. Has to go. It has to go. It seems like a lifetime ago now. Everything that's in that intro, to tell you the truth. But apart from the match, how are you, Pete?
Yeah, apart from the match, I'm grand. Yeah, feeling back to myself now. But yeah, tonight the North knocked me for 6 for a little bit though, not gonna lie. But yeah, other than that, I'm okay.
Chris, is it time to break out the Everton kit and stick it on? How are you?
I mean, it's not that bad, Daz, you know what I mean? It's not that bad. But no, I'm all right, mate. Unfortunately, like the match has just put a bit of a downer on the weekend for me, if I'm honest. But other than the match this evening, no, I'm fine. I'm all good, in good spirits, and now I suppose I'm already looking forward to AC Milan on Wednesday. I'm trying to put this game and the Everton game completely out of my mind. But yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. And how are you, Daz? You all right?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. I just said to Pete there before you joined us that at least the game was on Sunday, not Friday evening or Saturday morning. At least we could enjoy a bit of the weekend before that. Yeah, but look, I think each of us want to say a little piece first before we even get. It'll touch you on the match, I'm sure, depending on what I don't know what you guys want to say. Well, I'm going to say this. I kind of wrote a few notes down. So I kind of said it a few weeks ago that for me this is a stepping stone season. Are we walking towards that? There's talk of stepping stone players, talk of stepping stone managers, but this I'm talking about stepping stone kind of season. That there are plenty of more ups and downs to follow, but we have to enjoy the highlights. Example in that show reel there in the intro, the PSG win and the Man United win and the League Cup wins so far. We have to endure the lowlights as well. We all wanted European football, but we are not ready for it. When the injuries show, then we don't have the depth. Everyone knows that. That's no breaking news there. However, we will, in the future, we will have that depth. There's plenty of emotion flying around tonight, I'm sure, on social media. Stay away from it if you can for a while. In the pubs and in chats and WhatsApp chats and everywhere. But we will be stronger from these experiences. We'll add depth. Next time, our look with injuries shall change. And our away form won't be as desperate. Can't be. We're used to a bit of misery being Newcastle fans. We're used to it. But remember, it always tastes much sweeter when you earn it. Our day will come, so be ready for that day. That was just what I wanted to say, just as a quick kind of opening monologue to the show. But are we going to talk a bit about the game, or is there a specific point you want to make, Pete? We'll go to you next.
You can talk about the game if you want. We could just have our opinions floated around in between that. I think there are certain topics where people want to talk about. People in the chat already kind of giving their opinions on certain things and getting their views out already. Thank you for everyone joining us. Obviously, housekeeping and all that stuff. Click those likes. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Win, lose or draw, we appreciate the fact that you all, guys and girls, take the time to come and join us to talk all things Newcastle United. And look, let's be honest, it's not been a good week for Newcastle United, has it? It's not been a good week in terms of performances, in terms of results. I think if we're honest, I think we've been lucky that some results have gone our way outside of our matches. So it's not looked as bad as what it could have been. But look, let's be honest, like, first and foremost, the results have not been good enough. The performances haven't been good enough. I think it's fair to say that. I think people at the moment are really kind of worried to have their opinion and say that the team wasn't good enough or they didn't play well because of the reaction that people get. Oh, you can't say this, the injuries or fatigue, all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. You could well be right. We know that there are injuries. We know that they've played the same team five games in a row. But it comes to a point where you can't excuse certain elements of bad performances. And even Eddie Howe admitted it was good enough. He almost apologised to the fans that had travelled all that way and had to get past the fact that some trains weren't running. And so some of them had to get taxis down to Peterborough or coaches down to Peterborough in order to get the next train that could take them to London. People have gone out of their way, as Newcastle fans always do, with the best in the land for that reason, is that we always find a way to get to the ground. And then they get to the ground to see that. Like, it's not good enough. Doesn't matter how tired you are. Like, some of the elements of that game today were not good enough. And the fact that our manager is alluding to that fact, he knows, but he's not going to hammer the players because he needs to raise those players up for Wednesday night, and rightly so. I have to give props to Tottenham. Tottenham were the same as us, in the same position. Maybe don't have as many injuries, but they played and had to go deep into 95, 96 minutes against West Ham on Thursday, and lost. So they're in a similar position, but they look miles ahead of us. And fair play to them. Udogie and Son absolutely ripped us to shreds, absolutely terrorized us all game. Those boys were on fire, and we couldn't handle them. It's as simple as that. But the problem is our best players didn't turn up. Trippier again had another really poor game. Really poor game, and we can talk about it in detail stuff, but I'm just going to kind of brush over the surface. Trippier had a really poor game. I thought Jamal Lascelles probably one of his worst games for the period that he's been in the team. I think he might have been carrying an injury early on, but it still wasn't great. Bruno Guimaraes wasn't at it at all. Alexander Isak, I'm sorry.
Doesn't look like Pete. Doesn't look like
he doesn't
against Fulham. He has to start. Callum Wilson has to start against Fulham. There is something not right there. I don't know whether he's carrying an injury still. I don't know whether he's having injections. I don't know whether his groin is up to it. I have no idea. But there's no intense press from him. There's no running off the ball. He looks like he's hiding at times. There was a ball that was whipped in the first. Was it the first half? It might have been the second half. And it might have been in the first half, actually. And he's literally, there's no one in the middle of the pitch. It was the second half, actually, because it came from Trippier's side. Whipped the ball across goal, beats the first centre-back, and you expect Isak to be there. And he's behind the second centre-back. He's the furthest away from that crossing point possible. That's not what your striker does. Your striker should be bombing in there to be able to get onto that. In the first half, the chance that he missed, the sitter, I know Davis got a touch to it, but Gary Neville was right. Why wasn't, when Gordon goes across, why isn't he sprinting to get to that point? Because if he does, he gets in front of Davis and he gets a tackle. It's as simple as that. Callum Wilson, you watch Callum Wilson, when the ball goes through, he sprints. That's his moment where he sprints to get there, to get in front of the centre-back. He's not doing that. But Alexander Isak normally does. So there's something not right there. And, you know, he's going to start against AC Milan. But for me, I'd be going, in my opinion, a must-win game against Fulham, I'd be going Callum Wilson. Because Callum Wilson proved in, the 15 minutes he was on the pitch.
Sure.
He comes on, he battles, he causes problems for the centre-backs. Romero should have got a red card, in my opinion. All of that stuff happens, but it's Callum Wilson in the thick of it because he just creates chaos. And we needed that today. And I think that in a full game would have disrupted Tottenham's flow. And we need that against Fulham. And maybe having to sit out a game or two might give him that spark again to get back in. And we talked about it, Chris, before about them needing each other. And they really do. That's just kind of me. They're just little things that I noticed in the game about certain players. Look, I'll let you guys wade in on that as well.
No, all your points are valid there, Pete. Can't disagree with any of them. Chris, I'm going to go to you next, and your general thoughts of Anthony in particular.
Okay, well, I'll start from the top. I think I was particularly disappointed today because I thought there was an opportunity there for us. I know the players are tired. I know people say we've got loads of injuries, but as Pete rightly pointed out, Spurs have got injuries. But to me, it just looked like there's a few individuals that I'll talk about, but it also looked as a team that we heads are down in the camp. I think anyone saying otherwise is wrong because you could see that at points today. I could anyway. Alexander Isak definitely doesn't look right. Pete was right to point that out. He doesn't look comfortable. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because he's carrying something. Who knows? But the point I wanted to make about the way that we played today and why I'm so disappointed. There was a moment early on in the first half, and we broke the offside trap from Tottenham because they played such a high line, and Anthony Gordon was onside because he was in his half. We sprinted. Fantastic opportunity. Gordon's bombing down the wing. All he has to do is cut it back to Alexander Isak. And to be fair, Ben Davies makes a good interception. I can't knock him for that. It was a good interception. But if that was 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, that would have been 1-0. The ball goes in the back of the net, simple as. Yeah. As I say, I'm not taking anything away from Ben Davies there. But we just don't look on the pace at all. And what I noticed from Tottenham, which we know that Man City do, the two full-backs, Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie, they both, when Tottenham had the ball, they both cut into inverted central midfielders or central defensive midfielders. So at times, Tottenham were playing with Christian Romero and Ben Davies at centre-back, and then just in front of them was the two full-backs. So they create like a layer. Now, that was an opportunity for us, particularly Gordon and Miggy, who are full of pace, to really push and get down those wings. And for some reason, there was an insistence on going through the middle. And that was not the option. That was not the right thing to do. As we saw with Anthony Gordon, if you get it down the wings, you cause problems. For some reason, we kept trying to play through the middle, not sure why. And I don't know, again, if you boys noticed, every time it was getting to the wing, they didn't want to cross the ball. They just didn't want to cross the ball. It gets played back and back and back, and then Tottenham can sort themselves out at some points on the edge of the 18-yard box. Tottenham had like 6 players, and we're passing it round, trying to find a gap, trying to find a little slot to then cross it. But why not just cross it early? Get the ball in early. I know, Alexander Isak. Maybe there could be a reason behind it, and that maybe Alexander Isak isn't up for the aerial challenge, or they're looking at Romero and they're looking at Ben Davies, who is pretty tall. Maybe they're thinking, it's not worth it. But there's something changed because we're used to this fast, quick-paced football, and we just seem so slow in the build-up. And the ball goes to Trippier, and then Trippier gives it to Miggy, and then you go, right, hit the overlap. Then the ball gets overlapped, and you think, Trippier, cross it. The cross doesn't come. Then it goes back, and then across. And then we're getting caught in possession, and then they're gone. And we saw it time and time again today. And I just thought we played into Tottenham's hands. In terms of Bruno and Lewis Miley, I thought Joe Linton was trying. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't getting much joy, but he was trying to get himself around, and he was, I think someone in the chat said it as well. I completely agree. Joe Linton was trying his best, and he was trying to influence that midfield. But I thought Bruno was really quiet today, and we needed more from Bruno. And Lewis Miley, I can't really knock him. He's only a young 17-year-old lad, but I think the games are taking the toll now. Again, we haven't got much options, but it's disappointing. because from being so dominant, we now look so weak in the middle of the park, and it is concerning me a touch. Then we've got Kieran Trippier on that right-hand side, who, by the way, Pete, you mentioned that Lascelles had one of his poorest games in this recent run. I think it's no coincidence that when Kieran Trippier has a dodgy game, you see Jamal Lascelles have a dodgy game. Then that influences back to the goalkeeper, who was probably the poorest on the pitch for me today, Martin Dubravka. He just looked a bag of nerves, an absolute bag of nerves. And then that translates to your defence. You know, your defence. Tino Livramento probably had the worst game he's had in a Newcastle shirt today. I thought Tino was poor. Yeah. And I just think if you get 2, 3, 4, 5 players all playing poor, it reflects on the rest of the team. I don't like. I was laughing and joking with you in the chat, boys. Wasn't I saying, bloody hell, try and pick a man of the match out of that? I genuinely couldn't. I genuinely couldn't pick one. I mean, Joe Litton probably the best of a bad bunch, and I wouldn't give Joe Litton over the 6. Do you know what I mean? I just wouldn't, because he wasn't particularly good, but neither was anybody else. It was just one of those days at the office. And the final thing I suppose I want to say is, we've spoke about this briefly, haven't we, lads? And we've touched on it. That, like, you know, what do we do with the goalkeeper position? We know that Nick Pope's going to be out for 4 or 5 months. It's looking that way. And obviously he's going to need time to recover and get himself right, because it's a nasty injury. And we've spoken about, you know, players who've been linked, not necessarily by us, or we've mentioned them as players in the press. And, you know, David De Gea has been mentioned. Hugo Lloris has been mentioned. And you know what? I wanted to bring this up anyway, but it made me think of Tottenham. And I thought Hugo Lloris was struggling. And Tottenham went, right, new number 1, go and get him. And then they brought in Vicario. And since Vicario's come in, he's made the position his own. He's come in as a number 1. Now, us boys have spoken and said, 12, 18 months, will Nick Pope be the number one? Arguably, no. But I think now that we've got this major injury, I just worry about sticking a plaster over something until Nick Pope's back, because we've already got Lovius Karius, who's not going to be the Newcastle number 1 going forward. We've got Martin Dubravka, who's not going to be the Newcastle number 1 going forward. We've got Mark Gillespie, who's within the squad, just to make up the numbers and obviously make sure that there's cover for cover, if you like. But I do genuinely think now that we need to go out and get a number 1. I really, really do. And the more I was thinking about it, if we go out in January, if possible, even if we line a deal up for the summer, but just go and get the deal done. If we go out and get a number 1, ideally to come in January and say, right, bed in. Here's your 5-6 months, bed in. You've got the full summer with us, and then you're going to start as the number 1 next season. Because I really... Pete, I've said this to you offline, and I'll say it online. Like, when you mentioned against Everton, you know, about Dubravka and we can't go on and stuff, I'll admit I was a bit like, oh, maybe he's being a bit harsh there. You know, it's only 1 game, whatever. But Dubravka was fucking awful today. Awful. Right. And I think I've seen all the stuff that you saw on Thursday. And we can't keep him till April, May as number 1, because we will slide down the table. We really, really will. And I think it's no coincidence that since Martin Dubravka's come in, we've started to see, like, us really getting exposed. And it makes you wonder now whether, you know, the defence, it's displayed to the defence. And this is why I'm thinking to myself, just go and get a Mamardashvili or whatever. Just go and get a number 1 and go, right, there you go. Put the money on the table. Go and get him and say, right, you know, you've got now till Nick Pope comes back. Probably keep his place. But then in the summer, he's going to have the full what's it called? Pre-season. He's going to have the full pre-season, and then he starts as the number 1 for Newcastle United next season, and he's embedded. He's there. He's ready to play. That's genuinely what I do now.
I'm going to take a point from what each of you said, and I agree wholeheartedly with the points. First, I'm going to take Pete's point about Isak, and this is where I think we need. This will be my second position. I think we need to fill in January is another striker that can sit between Isak and Wilson, be the number 1 at times, whatever. But because our press starts from that front, and as Pete highlighted, Isak wasn't doing it. So it's a knock-on effect there, a domino effect right across the team, and the more puts our whole defense and midfield and under pressure when we don't, because that's what our game is built on. And then taking your point, Chris, if there's no confidence in the back, or it's disrupted the back line with the keeper, it's an ideal time now to bring in someone to challenge Pope or to even overtake Pope. Bring it, and that'll be the first position I'd strengthen in January. So that'd be the two positions I would be going after in as soon as the transfer window opens, as in like have it lined up. I know Eddie Howe said in his press conference there the other day that there's so many injuries all over the place. They have to look across every position, but as it gets closer, it has to become more apparent. And he knows as well that he's not going to have Pope back. And we all know as well, great having Wilson come back, and great he put in. He had that desire today and hunger when he came on, but it's only been a matter of time before he gets injured again. And so we need another option. So they're blatantly obvious that they're two positions that we need to strengthen. I think we'll get through everything else and strengthen those two positions, and with the injuries come back as well, I think then we'll give ourselves a fighting chance with whatever else we're left with or wherever else we're fighting in this stepping stone season, and leading us into next season and the summer ahead to maybe go and challenge the big boys at towards the top three. Then
probably 4 to 5. That's 4 to 5. I reckon we're 4 to 5. If we bring in 4 to 5 key players between January and the summer, and then we go into next season, I think we'll be all right. Plus, we don't have 14 injuries. That always helps as well. And we get rid of some deadwood. And people may say I'm harsh saying deadwood, but, the likes of Matt Ritchie, lovely guy, great servant, shouldn't be in a Premier League squad. Shouldn't be. He's not going to offer anything going forward. Like, when he eventually goes, is he going to go to a Premier League club? Probably not. No. The likes of Paul Dummett, again, exactly the same. But these are all squad places that we could fill. These are all positions that we could fill. Emil Kraft, Javier Manquillo, the list goes on. But if we go and get 4 to 5 big players, or just players, who can be utilised and will help us push on. Yeah. I think you'll soon see a difference. And all that this has done for me, and probably you boys as well, and all the viewers at home, all it's done for me is kind of highlighted that we are a little bit way off from being in a position where we can consistently challenge that top 4, top 5, top 6. And, yes, we've had a lot of injuries. I understand that. But we need, like the underbelly, as I keep talking about, we need a stronger underbelly. We need the squad rotation. Yes, we've had difficulties. I'm not going to start bashing Eddie Howe or start bashing certain players, but we kind of, you've got to upgrade. You've really, really got to upgrade. Yeah, you've got to. You've got to. Yeah, except the Ravka, yeah. Bloody hell. I mean, that's just basics. Sorry, Pete.
No, I was going to say, the thing for me is Dubravka should have gone last January. The alarm bells rang when Man United handed him back. Man United weren't good in January. And the fact that they handed him back and went with, Tom Heaton, tells you everything you need to know about Martin Dubravka. If he was any good, they'd have kept him. So the fact that we've kept him and now he's our number 2 and now we're having to rely on him tells us our own story. We should have got rid of him when we got the opportunity. I've had people on social saying, like, Karius. I'm not being funny. Karius is worse than Dubravka. Like, we've got 3 other goalkeepers other than Pope, and none of them are good enough to come and step into Pope, because Pope is so far levels above everybody else. And when someone else comes in, you notice the drop. There's no surprise that the players are panicky. The centre-backs, the defence is panicky when the ball comes into the box because they haven't got the assurance behind him. Dubravka may be better on the ball at his feet, and he is. But the rest of it is way, way below anything you need of a Premier League goalkeeper. A Premier League goalkeeper, you've got four key main attributes to have a very, very good goalkeeper. One of them is your distribution. Yeah. Are you good with the ball at your feet? The second is, are you a good shot stopper? Thirdly, can you command your area? Can you be big and strong? Can you come and collect? And then fourthly, are you a leader? Are you a leader? Are you someone that can lead and command your defense?
Are you vocal?
What you need to do?
Yeah.
And you have to have 3 minimum to be an elite top level goalkeeper. Now, yes, Hope doesn't have one of them, which is the distribution, but he's a hell of a shot stopper, and he's a hell of a commander of his area. So there's 2. And I would have him down as a leader because he directs and he tells the centre-backs where they need to be and what they need to do. So he has 3 of those 4. So, and that's not bad. But what you don't have with Dubravka is those 3. And he's a good distributor. And that isn't good enough. That doesn't cut it. That type of performance from Martin Dubravka today is what we were seeing 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago under Steve Bruce. It put one of those type of performances in against them. But the difference is that we were fighting at the bottom end of the table. So we almost kind of expected it. We can't now expect that because we're fighting. We're fighting on a different table.
Different level.
Now. We're fighting at the top. At the top, you can't afford to have games like that. So even when Pope's not had great games, he's been questioned by sections of the fan base. But his bad games have been nowhere near that. Have been nowhere near what we saw at Everton. And that's where you see the levels. You know, you talked about Mum Dashford, and he seems to be the go-to. For me, it all depends on what you're looking for in your goalkeeper and what we're looking for as a club. If we're looking for a stopgap to the summer, for me, you go and get someone like David De Gea on a free. Not at a club currently. You go and pick him up for a free. He has at least 3 of those 4 attributes that make you a top goalkeeper. There's a reason why he got the Golden Glove last season for clean sheets. He knows how to keep clean sheets. And with Botman and Shaw in front of him, it could happen. However, if you're going for your elite and you're going for your top 4, your top first choice goalkeeper, what you do is you knock AC Milan out on Wednesday and then you go in for their goalkeeper in January.
That'd be nice.
Mike.
That's
who you go and get. Because I tell you what, they're struggling with money again. They're struggling with money. And he deserves to be playing at the top table. And if we want to be at the top table consistently, you go out and get the best goalkeeper. And for me, he's the best goalkeeper now. You're paying 60 million for him, but you're getting the top. You're getting Mamardashvili, who's young and will end up being a top goalkeeper. There's no doubt about it. Shot stopper, commander. You know, he'll be a leader. There's no doubt about it. His distribution's not too bad. But the problem with that is, and I don't know what you guys think, I don't want people in the chat think, we've signed so many young players to become good players.
Yeah.
For me, we need to go and get the players that are ready now.
Like the Trippiers of the Wales. Go and get them.
Not even that. You look at Aston Villa. You look at Aston Villa. They've got what, 24 or 25-year-old Moussa Diaby ready to go. They went and got a 28-year-old Pau Torres ready to go. They've got a Douglas Luiz, 26-year-old, one of the best centre midfielders in the Premier League this season, ready to go. Kamara on a free, 23 years old in the French squad, ready to go. They've gone and got the players that are already at the level. And this is why Villa are playing the way they are right now, because they've got players in that team that are ready to go. I think it's Alex Moreno, the left back. The left back, ready to go. Been injured. They've got Luca Dean that comes in, an experienced 30-year-old left back, French international. Where you see they've got those players that are experienced that can come into a team and they know what they need to do because they've played at the top level. We've got these young players in, and I don't argue the signings that they've made. They'll become good players. Livramento is already showing his talent. We'll see Tonali's talents. I'm convinced of it next season. Harvey Barnes has barely kicked the ball the same. But we need to get players that are ready to go now. We need to fill our squad with more experienced players that are ready to go and do the business. And today, we looked very, very naive. We played into Tottenham's hands time and time again. Tino Livramento didn't have his best game. I thought Brendan Johnson had him on toast.
Yeah, he did.
From 5-10 minutes in. Just that flick over the top, bang, gone every time. And he couldn't keep with it. He couldn't keep with him. That was the one. He's the one player that's got the better of Tino Livramento. But it's not the end of the world. He'll come back. You talked about Chris, you talked about the Gordon crossing it to Isak chance. I don't know about you, but I was screaming to Gordon, shoot. Why cross it? Look at
or even go early though, Pete. You know when he was running, and you know the way the defenders were catching up. You know the way sometimes you see them cross the ball, but they put it just in front so that they run onto it. Ben Davies isn't getting that. He's not getting it.
Yeah.
But he did it too late. It's too late.
If you look at his angle, though, if you look at the angle in which he passes it, it's probably better if he shoots. He bends that into the far corner. Yeah. He bends that into the far corner wide. He's not the only one. There were so many Premier League players that do this now. They always look for the cut across. They always look for the easy tapping goal. Whereas he's ran the length of, like from the halfway line, the length of the half pitch to get into that position. His first touch weren't great, but actually put him in a great position where he got onto it and then he was in. He cuts inside, he does everything right. Put the ball in the net. If the goalkeeper parries it, Isak's then there to tap it in. He's right where he needs to be. And I just think sometimes we need to be ruthless. Miguel Almiron, great little bit of play. 1-2 passes, bang, bang, bang. I think Gordon's the one that slips in Miguel Almiron. Everybody knows Miguel Almiron goes far post, low down. Vicario's going to be no different. He read the ball before he even got there.
All he had to do was put a bit of height.
Just lift if you're going to go that corner, lift the ball, or catch him off guard and go near post, where he's already going down that way. He's then having to readjust his body. He probably doesn't get there. You've got to give something different. And we're talking about
but we have become too predictable though as well at times. You know, it was just, what we saw last season. We're seeing exactly again this season. Now has worked for us, but you have to mix it up as well sometimes, especially when it's not working. You need to try something different.
Agree.
Marlon is in front of you in the house there as well. Congratulations, Marlon. I don't think anyone's got the score right, but congratulations, Marlon, on the victory. Pete, I want to touch on one thing you had said, and it was really about you mentioned Aston Villa. But if you think Aston Villa must be sailing close to the wind of financial fair play, and they need to get into the Champions League, I would imagine, to break even next season. And the other thing is that they're still living off that Jack Grealish sale. And maybe that is something we're going to have to do as well, a big sale as well, just to kick us on and to bring in 3 replacements, because that the spreading the money out will allow us to do it over a number of seasons. So it's something that we're going to have to get used to as well as this project moves on.
Well, hopefully it does. The Adidas money comes in, because the Adidas money will hopefully facilitate a chunk of our spending in the summer. Hopefully that'd be the plan. But there's no doubt we cannot wait till the summer to pick up some players. And you know what? We talked about it before a couple of weeks ago, and we've now got the option to do it. Why not go Saudi? Couple of loans in, experienced players ready to go that can get us through to the end of the season and propel us up the table. Chris, you touched on it. And you're absolutely right. It's not just about bringing new players in to the squad. It's about moving some of these players out. For me, there is no surprise for me that when you look at the bench at Everton and Callum Wilson, and today Callum Wilson and Longstaff aside, you've got Richie and you've got Dummett, and they don't want to bring them on. Don't want to bring them on. Eddie Howe doesn't want to bring them on. That for me is more telling than anything else. They've only brought them on when the game's done. If you don't want to bring a player on because you don't believe they can change the game, they shouldn't be in the squad, and therefore they shouldn't be playing for Newcastle United. As much as we respect what they've done for the club, you can't have players as hangers-on in the squad just because they're good people. You can't do that. If you're running a business, you wouldn't just keep people in a role just because they're a nice person. They've got to give you something. They've got to offer something. And it's not just about what they do in the changing rooms or what they say. If they're a leader, great. But if they're not producing on the pitch, they need to be moved on. And you need to get players that can produce on the pitch and are also leaders. And that's where you go for a ready-made experienced player, because they'll be a leader or they'll have that experience and you can trust them. And that's the thing. People like Gillespie, for example, you throw in there, Richie, Dummett, Dubravka, you throw them all, you throw those players in there, you throw them out of the squad, you get 4 people into the squad of a much better quality. Your squad then rises again. And it's part of the conversation it's part of the harsh conversation that needs to be had. And I think Eddie Howe needs to stop being ruthless. He needs to stop being ruthless with some of these players and moving them on. If they're not doing what they should be doing, it's time to go. And that is just the reality, because it's clear that he doesn't want to use these players at all.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. Sometimes hard decisions need to be made. All right, let's go to a super chat from, is it coming up on screen? Yes. Deep in the snow. Hello, Deep in the Snow. Welcome to Deep in the Shit here on Loaded Mag NUFC after that result with Spurs. But he says Eddie might as well have used the game as a chance to rest players. After 2-0 down, why not take five players off?
This is what we were talking about during the game, wasn't it, Pete? Daz, we said this. At that point, I mean, I said 3-0 and Pete actually said 2-0. It did look like the game was done. So, just rest them. Pete's already said, we know we don't want to play Richie. We know we don't want to play Kraft. But why risk having Bruno out there? Why risk having Fabian Schär out there? Just take them off. Get them off. Because that game was unsalvageable, especially when it went to 3. Just get them off. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, so do I. Okay, yeah. You're probably still thinking there might be a chance, but when I went to 3, game over, set, match. I've even wrote it in my notes. I didn't take my notes, but what's the point in talking about them today? To be a waste of time. Let's go to questions. There's plenty.
Just before we do go to questions, one thing I will say, and I know we've been a little bit negative over the last 36 minutes, but one thing I will say is obviously all the Reds and Blues have been on to me today, and as usual, you're in a meltdown, a mini crisis. I've heard talks of Eddie Howe's job being under pressure, all this usual rubbish, and all I will say is we've just got to remain calm and we've just got to stick by. And I've said, come back to me, and on New Year's Day evening, because we've got 6 games now between now and New Year's Day when we play Liverpool. And if we're still rocking, we're still in trouble, fair enough, I'll listen to it. But right now, we've got a nice little run of fixtures. We can go and put it right against AC Milan on Wednesday. And, we can start picking some points up. And now that these injuries are starting to hopefully subside and players are slowly coming back, because I celebrated before the game and I was going, oh my God, we've got Sean Longstaff, we've got Callum Wilson on the, back on the bench. Straight away that was thrown back in my face at 6:30 because they were like, oh, I thought you had injuries back, what are you moaning about? And it was like, well, no, and they've only just come back. It's going to take time, and obviously, we need to integrate the players, and we've still got the same starting 11 that we've had for the last 4 games today. So I think everyone was expecting instant miracles, or they thought I was, but I wasn't. It was just the fact that we've now got options. But yeah, let's be honest, lads, we've had 2 horrendous games, but we can soon turn that round. So it's not all negative. It's just the fact that it's annoying and frustrating, because really, we shouldn't really be in this position, but we all know why we are, if that makes sense.
This is a load of rubbish here. Like we're going to get rid of Eddie Howe. He's not going anywhere. I think people and look, it's a very small section of the fan base, if any. Probably Mackham's trying to create drama in the Newcastle fan base, but look, he ain't going anywhere. Eddie Howe's not going anywhere at all. People can question him, and this kind of, maybe even fixing some of the questions. I think there was one question in particular.
Sorry, Pete, like you said earlier, he's not. You can't not criticize, but that doesn't mean we want him out. Yeah. You mentioned that earlier, Pete. Absolutely spot on. He's not beyond criticism. The players aren't beyond criticism. But it doesn't mean you want them out. Sorry, Pete, but that's...
No, you're absolutely right. And this is the thing, people should be able to criticize or critique a performance and say that a performance in isolation isn't good enough. Like, this week's matches haven't been good enough. But that's not saying that the team's crap and Eddie Howe's crap or anything like that. That's not true. Like, the team, like someone put in the chat earlier, are we still effing class? Yeah, we are. We're going for a moment. Every team does it. But what you want is the team to capitalize. We want our team to play well every game. We don't want them to have a bad game. And when they do, we're allowed to critique it and say what we're not happy about or what we didn't think went well in the performance. This is why we do what we do. This is why we do these shows, but this is why you guys join and girls join in the chat to give your opinions. It's a part of having a discussion. We're not always going to agree, but we're allowed to have our opinion. And this is the thing, Nathan's put on here, Nathan Page. Can you talk about Eddie Howe's squad management? You could argue what management? He's played the same players five games in a row. Like, he hasn't managed the squad at all. I mean, you could probably talk about, and Christian Daz had mentioned it, about certain players get taken off earlier when you see the game's kind of gone. Maybe you could have done that, but to really hammer Eddie Howe for not taking player off 5 minutes earlier, when we're already losing the game comfortably, but I think that's incredibly harsh. I think, when we had a full squad to choose from, I thought he was managing it really well. I thought he was handling it quite well personally, but this is Eddie Howe isn't. You could argue he's not responsible for this. He'll take some responsibility, of course, but to call for his head, nah, not for me. Not for me. What do you boys think?
No way. I said it. It was I think probably when Graham came on, Graham Bailey, and he said, what happens when Eddie goes through a poor patch? But I think we were saying it then. For me, Eddie Howe gets this season, and he gets to the end of next season. If things were in a downward trajectory and we weren't scaling the heights we're edging, making more way towards us, then I'll question them. But not until then for me. Like the owners are even apart from Amanda Mirdad and Jamie Rubin. The PIF might question them because they'll want to get there as fast as possible, get where they want to be. But for me, I'm happy with Eddie till at least the end of not just this season, in the next season. Give him the opportunity to see where he is.
No, I mean, I agree with what you boys have said. I find it very difficult to criticise Eddie, given the difficulties we've all had. We don't need to keep talking about the injuries, but it's a fact. That is how it is. Just while you lads were talking, then I was looking at the Premier League table, and we're 7 points off top four. We're a point behind Man United, and we're 4 points behind Tottenham, who apparently have had a brilliant season this season. It's all fine margins, and everyone's beating everyone at the minute. We were talking about it pre-show. We saw Liverpool go 1-0 behind again, just managed to get the win. We saw Man City go 1-0 behind against Luton, managed to get the win. We're just not getting results over the line. Arsenal got put to the sword by Villa. It's all over the show at the moment. But so, again, if we get to say the end of January, I mean, I've said to my lads, we'll have a discussion, on the evening of New Year's Day, and let's see where we are. But I got told we were in a mini crisis before by me blue mate, mini crisis, and I was like, so we've lost 2 games in a row when we're in a mini crisis. I said, what if we win the next 5? I said, what then? And then apparently then I was called Mystic Chris because apparently I said we're definitely going to win the next 5. And I said, no. I said, I'm just saying. Yeah, exactly. I said, I'm just saying, what if we win the next 5? I said, will everyone be calling for Eddie Howe's head then? Because they won't. But gradually, as these players come back and we start, the players start getting a bit of a rest. We've already seen Trippier getting his 5th yellow, so he's going to miss the Fulham game. Gradually, when we start getting a little bit of, relief, I think everything can change. When's the next international break, lads? Is it in...
it's not till January.
March.
It's a gap. There is a break in Premier League games between
I think it's
early January and into January. Is there like a staggered week of games? It's like 5 games one week and 5 the next.
I think mid-January. I think there's a bit of a break in between. It's kind of like that winter break-ish type thing.
Yeah,
that's in January.
Right, okay.
And then you've got the next internationals are obviously you've got the African Cup of Nations over the course of January, but you've got, I think it's like March time, the next proper international break. So we've got a chunk of time before the next international break comes out, and that break in January will good, but we might not. It all depends, because we might not get that break if we get to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, because I think it falls.
And we hope we do.
And of course we hope that we do get that. But I think that's kind of how it works. But I just wanted to bring this up really quickly, because you've touched on it, Chris, and we'll bring up Newcastle United's fixtures. Obviously, of course, we've got the line game, but just focusing on Premier League fixtures here. Like, for me, I tweeted out after the game, like, we need to be targeting 9 points from the next 3 games. Fulham next weekend, then it's Luton away on the 23rd, and then Boxing Day it's Forest at home. So you've got 2 home games out of the next 3 in the Premier League. We have to be winning those games. I know Luton have been putting up trees and giving teams good games, but you would hope that within 2 weeks' time, we've got Callum Wilson, Longstaff, Botman, Barnes, maybe Elliot Anderson at that point. Like, you're hoping that the squad is fuller by then. We've got a chunk of players back. We should be targeting 9 points there. But then, and the reason why it's even more important is because of this. January. Look at that for a January. That's our month there. Liverpool away, New Year's Day. Then we've got the unwashed from down the road on the 6th. And then you've got Man City at home, Villa away. That's a monstrous January. That's why those ones in December become even more important.
Yeah, the case.
This is why the points need to be on the board for that reason.
Well, if we get them 3 home wins, Peter. Sorry, not 3 home wins. If we get those 3 wins against Fulham, Luton, and Forest, so let's say we get 9 points. Worst case scenario, 7 points, but I want 9, and I think we can get 9. You know, that'll put us on 35 points. Are the other teams around us all going to pick up 9 points in the next 3 games? I don't think they will. And then, so if we're on 35 points, Pete, Man United have got to get 8 points out the next 3 games. They won't.
No. Well, they for one, I think next weekend they go to Anfield. For one.
There you go.
Right?
Well, there you go. That's
they ain't picking up Jack against them. No. I'm willing to put money on it. They're not picking up Jack. In fact, you know what? Let me take this off. We're going off track now, so I apologize.
Where are you going now?
You guys can hammer me later, because
West Ham away.
Here we go, down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So we've got the ball. We've got that out of the way. Next one, Man United, Liverpool next Sunday. Okay, then they've got West Ham away on the 23rd.
And just out of interest, Pete, who are the other rivals? So Man United have got West Ham away. You've got Tottenham who've got Everton at home.
Right. Cool. So here's next weekend, mate. Friday. Yeah. Tottenham have got Forest on the Friday.
Forest may have a new manager by the time they come to play us.
Quite possibly.
You never know.
Forest at the City ground aren't bad either, does. They're really not.
Man City got Palace. Arsenal, Brighton. So Brighton have got Arsenal. They have to go there. Villa have got Brentford away. Villa's away form has been questionable, although they're formidable at home. Liverpool against Man United. You know, again, so the whole landscape of that could look different. Arsenal get a win. Liverpool get a win. We're extending the gap from Brighton, and we're going ahead of Man United. We're going into 6th place.
Yeah.
So already we're making moves in improvements off the back of that.
Yeah.
Then if you go into the next one, you've got Thursday, the 21st of December, Brighton are going to Palace. Then you've got Villa at home, Sheffield United, which is expect them to win. Then you've got Man United against West Ham. Like, that's not a given that the Man United pick up points there. But equally, with West Ham just below us in the table, one of those teams are going to drop points. Then we go to Luton. So we've got to do our job. We've got to win that game. You've got Liverpool.
Luton have picked it up, though, in the last few games. They were lucky against Arsenal.
They have. They've got what they've got. They've got a lot of running. They've got a lot of endeavour. They give everything to the cause, but they just lack quality. And that's where we need to win the game, because we've got a lot of running. We've got a lot of endeavour in our game, but we have the quality that can beat them. And this is what's been proven with Arsenal getting the last minute winner, with Liverpool getting a last minute equaliser, with Man City having a two brief moments of quality that wins them the game. We've got the capacity to do exactly the same. And if we've got all big boys back to choose from, we should be picking them apart. Like they're doing okay, and it's not a given, but we should be winning that game, in my opinion, off the back of that. And then Chelsea are away at Wolves, but to be fair, Chelsea, you have got no idea what to expect. Then you're going into Boxing Day, Forest at home. Like you couldn't ask for a better fixture for a Boxing Day. For Newcastle, you couldn't ask for a better Boxing Day fixture. 12:30 kickoff. Then you've got Man United, Villa. Somebody's dropping points there.
Yeah,
you got Liverpool, Burnley, Chelsea, Palace. Not a given.
Can Everton cause City problems? Can they?
There you go. Brighton, Tottenham.
Brighton need to start winning. Brighton needs to start winning football matches. What if they go and absolutely turn Tottenham over?
There you go. And then Arsenal, West Ham. So you look at those fixtures. I'll come off it now, but you look at those fixtures. All of them are playing each other. Whilst we've got favourable fixtures, 9 points on the board. You are absolutely right, Chris. Changes the complexion, and it almost could potentially, depending on results, swing back in our favour. But we've got to get the points.
And then what if we're on the back, Pete, of 3 or 4? Well, maybe not 4, but 2 or 3 good wins, right? And then we go into that new year, and then we shock Liverpool at Anfield. What then if we're riding the crest of a wave, and then we come up against Sunderland, we batter them in the derby, brilliant. We then get City at home. We're 4th, 5th, 6th in the table, and then we go and beat Man City at home. Because Man City are close to being on the end of another defeat. You can see it coming. Luton nearly did it. You can see it coming. And not all is well at Man City. So what if we go and beat Man City at St James's Park? And then we go into the final game, which would be, who was the third game in January? Villa. Turn up at Villa Park and just take 3 points. All of a sudden, it's wide open. Even a draw.
Lads, I'm looking at a different thing. I was like that as well. I was looking ahead to all the different games and all the permutations, but I'm going to sound like Eddie Howe, but I am just looking one game at a time. But I'm also going to enjoy each game coming and look at it as a one-off, because this. I've kind of gone down the track, as I said in my opening monologue, kind of thing, that I'm I'm not going to expect much, and just see what happens. And like even going into the game at Milan, we could come second, we could come third, we could come bottom of the group, and each of them has their own benefits in a way.
Very true.
So. What we must just enjoy it. It could turn out we mightn't be in Champions League for a while. Again, who knows? It could be that we mightn't be in European competition for a while yet. Again, who knows? No one knows how the season's going to pan out. So we might as well just enjoy each game.
It's up to us. Yeah, it's up to us. Yeah.
If we're still playing European football, doesn't matter what it is, whether the next stage of the Champions League or Europa League, that's only going to help us when we go into the transfer market, because players are going to want to go to teams that are still playing in Europe and they're still qualifying for Europe. And if we go into the Europa League, players are going to want to come and play for us because they know what it's like on a European night at St James's Park. They're going to want to be a part of that. They also know that we're going to be competitive in that competition. No doubt about it. We're going to be competitive in that competition. And players are going to want to be a part of that, because I genuinely think that if we went into the Europa League, worst case scenario, we drop into the Europa League, because I don't even want to think about the fact that we go out of Europe completely. Worst case scenario, we go into the Europa League. I genuinely think we can attack that competition. I genuinely think we can get to the last stages. I think we'll have the squad back by the end of January that will be able to go head first at that competition, because we won't have a European competition until February. Until I think it's like mid to end of February it starts up. That's where we don't have then that clutch of fixtures that get in the way unless we go deep in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup.
It's not all doom and gloom. You're right, Pete. It's not all doom and gloom. And if we do drop into the Europa, and Daz, even when you said about us dropping out, I was a bit gutted when you said, "Oh, we might, get knocked out on Wednesday," but completely. But nobody's going to look back and go, "Oh, Newcastle made a hash of that." Newcastle shamed themselves there. No one's going to say that because we were
in a group
right
of
in
death.
the mix last game, right in the mix, and it does mean that we can attack the rest of the season and not have the European distraction. Do we want the European distraction? Yes, we do.
Yes.
But if we don't have it, it's like, well, okay, well, let's just focus on the league and focus on the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. There's
because we will be back as well.
Mm.
We will be back, and the next time we are in Europe, no matter what European competition it is, I don't want it to be the conference, that Mickey Mouse competition, but whatever competition it is, we're going to be stronger, and we'll be able to balance the Premier League and the European competition and the cups as well. And so I think we should go back to the questions because we're going to miss half them otherwise.
Yeah, we'll do some quick fire ones. Go for it, Pete.
Yeah. But firstly, I don't know if have you done this already? Sorry, I was looking at something.
New one.
Nope.
Super chat from Ronald Turnbull. NUFC needs to reset in Jan and get ready for next year, and then win the treble. I hope you're right, Ronald.
Bring it on. What about the quadruple? Which is still on, is it, Chris?
Still on, mate.
But yeah, I'm with Ronald. Next year, better chance next year, I think.
The treble will do.
Trouble would just suffice.
Treble brandy for Pete.
Yeah. It's been a while actually. It's been a while. Alan Thompson, question, lads: do you think Trippier deliberately got booked so he misses the Fulham game? So he's back for the harder games.
It's a great question.
It is. Bruno definitely did. That's that's what
missed.
Trippier, yeah.
And then we got beat.
She got beat. Yeah. I'm not sure about Trips, but it would make sense, and he needs a bit of a break anyway. And he's definitely going to start. Yeah.
He didn't half go through him to get that yellow.
Remember
I personally don't think he did. I don't think he did. I think he was surprised that the ref gave him the yellow. But I tell you who did purposely get a yellow was Bruno Fernandes. That guy is the worst professional I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys saw that. And you know why he got that yellow? Because of who they're up against next. He did not want to go to Anfield. He did not want to go to Anfield because he got embarrassed last time. Trippier is not that guy. So I don't think he did, personally. I think
as in, does he mean in terms of has he gone? We need you kind of like,
do it.
I wouldn't say
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Trippier's done it himself, just in terms of Eddie going, we'll do without you for Fulham because we need you for Luton away.
Has Eddie Howe got the Jose Mourinho about him?
I reckon it's in him. Yeah, I do.
Who knows? Interesting one. A few people have mentioned this, guys. But John Story said it as well. How much can we really realistically spend in January? FFP is killing us. A few have mentioned, because we talked about Goalkeeper and signings in January, they were saying like FFP, this, that, and the other, all the rest of it. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that makes you think maybe we won't get that many players, or are you still convinced that we are going to be picking up players in January?
I suppose it's all about the structure of the deals we work out with the selling club, but your guess is as good as mine, John, and everyone else's. No one really knows except the club, and even Kieran Maguire with all these spreadsheets and permutations. It's not going to know either how much we could spend. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll do an awful lot of talking about it. I know that from mid-December onwards, but who knows?
Okay. Anything, Chris, to add?
I completely agree with that. I think it's a totally open book. I think it could be anything because, let's be honest, I'm not saying we're going to do this, by the way, but, if we go to Napoli and go, we want to buy Osman, and they go, oh, we want 120 million, and we go, well, we'll give you 200 million, but we only want to pay 10 million up front, I'm sure they'd take it. And then obviously the payments will be staggered. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, I think there's options.
And the
I'm
keeper,
not saying we're signing Osman, by the way.
Osman.
I'm not saying that. That was just an example. But what I'm trying to say is there's always a way of doing it. And I do firmly believe that we'll find a way. It's the same with a loan deal. We could just go, oh, yeah, we'll give you a 10 million loan with the obligation. We've only spent 10 million. So again, I don't think there's going to be huge amounts. I think that's widely known. But then in the summer, if we're going, well, he's going. And as we've already said, boys, who knows? There could be deals in the pipeline for players outgoing. All it takes is one reasonably big player to go, and all of a sudden the budget increases.
Yeah.
So who's saying that that's not already lined up?
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll sign permanently one player, and I think the others might well be loans, obligations, or just loan with an option to buy. To suffice it and get us through. But no, interesting one. I'm sure we'll be talking more about that. Just a quick one. Marlon said, did he not call the chicken today?
Yes, he did. He did. Marlon was right there in that one. Yeah, Trippier didn't. He didn't score from a free kick and say, "How do you like that, Marlon?" No, but. At the same time, you were wrong about that 20 minutes. He did perform after the 20-minute mark, Marlon. Yeah, back at you.
Yano said, our backup players can perform to a high level for a limited number of games. Eventually, their lack of ability will be found out. We seem to think Lascelles is brilliant. New contract, no. What are your thoughts on the few things that Yano said there, boys? Chris, I'll come to you first.
I see where Yano's coming from. Eventually players will be found out. Jamal Lascelles has been really good for us. I think it's fair to say, and I hope you boys agree with this, I don't think Jamal Lascelles is a brilliant centre-back. I think Jamal Lascelles has been playing brilliantly. And he's certainly improved, and I'm not going to start knocking him because he has really helped during this period. In 12, 18 months, will Jamal Lascelles be anywhere near the starting 11 for Newcastle? I very much doubt it. Would they give him a new deal? Again, if FFP was not a thing, Jamal Lascelles wouldn't be playing for Newcastle. Simple as. But you can't just change a whole squad all in one go, like City did back in the day, like Chelsea did back in the day. It's just not possible anymore. And I think Jamal Lascelles, yes, he brings his leadership, and yes, he brings other things to the squad, and yes, he doesn't, moan and complain, and that's certainly not the impression we get anyway when he doesn't start. He just gets his head down and gets on with his job, similarly to the likes of Matt Ritchie. But I do think we have to be careful going forward how long we tie players down, because under the Ashley area, as we've seen, it's kind of stung us a little bit in the sense that we've got a lot of players who arguably shouldn't really be playing for Newcastle in this period right now, who've been given massive extensions and who we would struggle to get off the books. And we were kind of waiting for the contracts to wind down, like the likes of your Kieran Clarks of this world and Jeff Hendricks and stuff like Isaac Hayden's. They were given too many long contracts. So yeah, I'm not going to start bashing Jamal Lascelles, but if he was to get a 1-year extension, because in the minds now, the club are thinking, oh God, we need a goalie, we need a right winger, we need a striker, we need other positions. I've got no problem with that. But the right centre-back position is something that we need to upgrade in time as well, because not just Jamal Lascelles, but Fabian Schär isn't getting any younger. So it's all a knock-on. But yeah, I see where Yano's point is. And in an ideal world, we bring in 8 new players, but we just can't in one go.
For me, I see it as kind of a staged approach, I guess. We have Gillespie, Dummett and Ritchie. Ritchie comes on for a few minutes to see out a game. Dummett has done really well in the League Cup, but maybe put a few more into that bracket as well. But you'll have then they'll be gone. For me, they should have been gone a couple of seasons ago, but they'll be gone next season. And then you transition the likes of. I was all for getting rid of Lascelles as well, but I think he's done enough in the last games to prove himself, and Eddie Howe has got more out of him. So I'm okay with giving him an extended contract, but then he is like the Richie or the Dummett kind of figure. He's at that stage. So eventually we trim the herd, let's say, and each time we're getting better and better. But because we can't get rid of everyone altogether either, that's not going to be possible. I love we could, but financial fair play will stop us doing that. So I think it's going to be a staged approach. But when we start getting rid of the likes of Richie, Dummett, Gillespie, then we know we're getting stronger. And Lascelles will be in the next batch to go down the line.
Okay. David R said 7 goals conceded in 2 games. We need Botman back ASAP or a new quality centre back in January as cover along with a new goalkeeper. 6 losses already more than the whole of last season. Big decisions in January. Bit I'll pick out from that, lads, is a new centre back. Someone to supplement Botman and Shaw ultimately, alluding to what maybe David R was talking about there. Do you think it's needed, January centre back coming in?
For me, it's keeper, striker in January. I don't think you're going to get too much more than that in January, unless loans. But then it's like, I think the centre back, the right side of centre back, as an eventual replacement for Shar or in the mix, will be the summer, and maybe a number 6 kind of a player as well. But maybe we get someone on loan to cover in that kind of position in January as well, if we're asking for something else.
Just to add on to that, Chris, Rich Doblin says we desperately need a 6. Which one would you prefer out the 2?
Out of the right centre back and the 6.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Probably the right centre back, purely because I think Louis Miley has come to the fore. I think once Elliot Anderson's back, I don't think the needs as much. I think we do need a right centre back more than a number 6 right now. But what I will say is, I agree with Daz. I think a goalkeeper, a striker, and probably a right winger as well. Like, I love Miguel Almiron, love him, but you can't just survive on Miguel Almiron. And he's just so frustrating. At times he's brilliant, and then other times it's just like, oh, Miggy, please, just don't do what we all know you're going to do. Because if we all know you're going to do it, you can guarantee any half decent manager with his weight in gold will know that that's what you're going to do, and it's very easy to defend against. So for me, in this order, I would say goalkeeper, striker, right winger. I really would over the 6 or the right centre back.
I think probably fine. I've already said that I think there's more of an argument now to get a striker in, but I just think if we can get someone that can do both, can play off the right and be a striker, that would be the ideal scenario, because I just don't think we'll get both. There is an argument for a number 6. I think we need a number 6 when playing away from home. Yeah. I think Bruno Guimaraes gets caught 6 or 7 times in the first half, pressing too high up the pitch. And the amount of times 2 passes breaks our midfield completely. 1-2 quick passes, 1-2 bang, throw our midfield literally through it, and Bruno's already 5 yards behind. We need away from home a number 6 that is just going to sit in and do the dirty work and break the lines and break up all play. So when that ball gets played that Tottenham played today, that number 6 there is to sweep things up. We have to have something different for away games in comparison to home games, because we can get away with it at home because we've got the emphasis in our game. But away from home, I think we do need a number 6 for that. But whether it's a priority or not is up for discussion with regards to that. We've already talked about we talked about a few of these things already. Is this the lineup for Wednesday night, in your opinion? Chris, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
You're giving this one to me.
I was giving this one to you directly. Go on.
I was looking forward to Chris struggle on away days tomorrow night in this one.
So we've got Longstaff in the team playing. I think that's probably the only change. What you going for? Are you happy with that?
Would you?
So it's taking Miley out.
Is there an argument for Wilson, or do we save him for Fulham?
I'm thinking Wilson. But yeah, you want him for Fulham definitely. But
would Isak be better for Fulham though?
As in, just to wake Isak up a bit. I know it's a massive game to kind of prove a point, but just to go, there you go, you're back on the bench now again, and just you have to earn your spot, and throw Wilson in a home game, the crowd behind him, and throw Isak on if we go a goal behind, or if it's not working out for Wilson. Wilson's not going to play a full 90 minutes anyway. I'd consider it.
I'm thinking as well, and I know people will say, "Oh, Trippier is missing the Fulham game, so play him against Milan." But that's 2 shocking games, 2 shockers. And I'm thinking, do you just put Livramento on the right and you put Hall on the left, and just say to Trips, like, you've got a full week off, get yourself right, just get yourself right, because we need you back firing. Because right now, boys, I'll be honest, if and when we see Trippier in the lineup against Milan, I'm going to be nervous. He's coming up against Rafael. I'm going to be nervous. I'll be honest.
He might be injured, Chris.
Oh really? Oh God, I hope so.
Really?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
There was talk he's picked up an injury. There's a few. They've got pretty much the majority of their centre backs injured. They're struggling, and he didn't play. I'm just looking now. He didn't play at the weekend.
Okay.
He wasn't in the squad at all. There's talk that he's going to miss that game, Rafael. And they only had Tomori fit as a fit centre back. They only had Tomori fit. I think 3 or 4 of their centre back options are injured, so they are struggling in areas. So they went with Pulisic and Chukwueze, right and left, against Atalanta, and they lost 3-2.
And you go and say to Callum Wilson, you're back, going fathers into the Champions League.
See, I would play him against Fulham. I honestly, I think if this AC Milan game was the week after, I'd be starting Callum Wilson. But I just think him coming back and playing the 15 minutes is maybe just a bit too early to start him against AC Milan. You don't want to put him in too much. But I'd be saying Isak, if you want to start against Fulham, you need to be putting in a performance in this game, and you need to be scoring as a goal in the Champions League, and giving him 60 minutes to turn it around. And then, because then you're giving Callum Wilson 30 minutes at the end of the game, so you're building him up gradually to potentially start and do 60 minutes on Saturday.
I know what you're saying.
So it's kind of, you're building him up, you're building his workload. We know what Callum Wilson's like. We don't want him to break down again so quickly. So it's like we're slowly building him. But I would be saying, because for me, that Fulham game's massive. Not Champions League's massive game, because it's all or nothing. It's an all or nothing game.
Cup game.
It is. But Saturday, that's us turning the corner, getting those 3 points. And honestly, after those 2 performances from Isak, I'd be going to Wilson saying, "You're the guy. Go and win us the game." And you know what? He probably would. He's that type of guy. He's got a different mentality. So that would be my thought on that. But
you know what I'd be doing, Pete? I'd be going to getting both of them into the office and going, "Look I'm bringing in another striker in January, and up your game, and your one of you is gone."
Well, getting a striker through the door early January would certainly throw the cats into pigeons. Yeah, is that the terminology? It certainly would. It would make players stand up and take notice, 110%. Right, I'm going to fire a few, just a literally couple of quick ones. There's so many questions. Thanks for sharing all your questions, but a lot of what you've said we've already covered. So I think there's been a few that have added at the bottom.
I added a few there. There's some quality ones, so I had to put them in there.
Alan Thompson said, lads, would you be happy to sell Murphy for 20 million, which has been reported a target for Forest and Palace? Interesting one.
Deal.
Yes. Yeah, all day, all night.
There you go. Easy.
That was Jacob, not Alex.
Yes, Jacob. Oh yeah, don't do that. Don't do that to your Alex. He won't be happy. Life Goal said, would everyone else also take one trophy, even Europa, and 10th place?
Deal.
Yes. Yeah, I would.
A trophy, of course. We would.
A trophy, and then next season, no distractions, and then 2 more transfer windows.
Yeah.
Well, Europa League puts us in the Champions League, so I'll take it all day.
Yes. I like your trick. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, winning the Europa League puts us back in the Champions League.
That backfired on your life goals.
Yeah. And even better, we'd all be going to Dublin to go and see Daz in Ireland, because that's where the final is. And if we beat Dublin in the final.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. We get Champions League football, we win a European trophy, and we go into the Super Cup. So we play against the Champions League winners in the Super Cup. So, hey, I'd be up for that. And this is why I said, why not attack the Europa League if we're in it? Why not attack that? Yeah, it's Thursday night, but build a squad with a few more players in January. Boom, attack it. We know where we lie by the 1st of January. We're going to know where we lie, either in the latter stage of the Champions League or Europa League. We attack it.
And the thing, Pete, as well, is a decision staying in Europe like that may twist our hand and say, right, we will take 1 or 2 from Saudi because we're going to need to book the squad. We'll have that option with us if we need it.
Yeah,
and no one's cup tied.
Yeah. There you go. Literally last couple. This is one asked directly to you, Daz. If you could have one more of the injured players back in midweek, who would it be? There's rumours that
does it have to be someone
too, but who would you have?
Does it have to be just an injured player? Because I'm hoping Chris puts Tonali in his 11 tomorrow and away days. But no, I'd say Botman. Botman is the one there really. We need back. If Wilson wasn't back, I would have said we need another striker option. But at least Wilson is back now, and Sean Longstaff is back. So go for Botman. Sorry, Pope. Pope is who I want back.
I was going to say
more than anyone else.
I was thinking, how are you forgetting? We don't want
Pope.
the Bradbury going again, especially for that big. But yeah, any one of those two.
It's hard not to say Botman though, because Botman's just excellent.
Yeah, we've missed him. Him.
Yeah,
controlling the game, and you know what? Honestly, I don't know if you saw Shaw's reaction to Lascelles, because Lascelles should have cut that one across. He looked straight at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And at that point, you're thinking to yourself, "Shaw needs Botman back." They've just got that telepathy on the ball. They're both so comfortable on the ball. They can keep possession themselves for 2 or 3 minutes in a game just by passing it between themselves. They just find positions. They could just knock the ball in. It just eases the whole team. And I just think we need him back. It's been far too long.
Imagine Botman supporting Livramento on the left, and Shaw supporting Trippier on the right.
The freedom that those boys have.
Reality soon.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, just before I go to the last question from Jay, is I know you. I think you mentioned, Chris, about Joe Linton. Like he did okay. I actually thought he weren't great in the first half, but the one thing that I was surprised that I didn't think that I needed, and I did in the second half, is when he went out to the left, and it reminded me how good he was last season out on that left. And actually, he wasn't amazing, but he was so much more effective out on that left in the second half. He got in and behind. He was coming in on the back post trying to win headers. He obviously got his goal playing off that left-hand side when Wilson squared it to, and I'm just thinking, could that not be? Can we not find a way of making that an option? I know we've got Gordon and he's playing so well, but it's certain times.
Gordon on the right.
Yeah,
and Barnes is going to be back soon.
yeah, can we pigeonhole him at parts of the game? Not always, but in parts of the game, can we not pigeonhole him and stick him on that left? Because I do think there are so many positive qualities to his game that helps Newcastle, particularly away from home, when he plays off that left. And I just thought when he did that, he played so much better off the back of that. But that was just kind of just something I just remembered. But Jay says, "What is our expectations this season, guys?" Let's end on that one.
To have more highs than lows between now and the end of the season. I think we've had a few lows now. Look, to enjoy each of the competitions while we're still in them. To have a shot at 5th spot. I think 4th might be even stretching it now, but you never know. But yeah, just to go out and enjoy it game by game and see where we end up. And we know we're going to be getting better season on season, so don't get too disheartened by it.
For me, my expectation is a strong, positive January transfer window, and I'm going to disagree with Az here. I'm going to expect top 4. I still want top 4. I just feel like we need to sort ourselves out. It's still there for the taking. It's still there, and once these players come back, I think if we put a run of 3 or 4 games together, Eddie Mags back on form, we'll look at this part and we'll go, oh, do you know what? If we hadn't have had all those injuries and we'd won there, or we got a point there, or we'd be looking back going, bloody hell, we could have been challenging top 3. I still believe we can get 4th because I expect Villa to struggle somewhere along the way. I expect Tottenham to keep dropping off. Yes, they've had a good result against us. Man United nowhere near it. Brighton, West Ham, nowhere near. They're not going to be challenging up there. It's basically us. It's basically us and Tottenham, in my opinion, who are going for that 4th spot. And I do think we've got enough for them. I still think we can get it.
I won't go as far as Chris N here, who says we'll finish 14th.
I think we're shooing for top 8. I think we're shooing for top 8.
Yeah, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't be targeting the minimum top 6. I think we're capable of it. We should be finishing ahead of Man United, that's for sure. Brighton have good moments, bad moments. West Ham the same. Like you look at those teams below us, they're very up and down. Even in their best moments, they have bad moments.
Yeah.
Man United aside, we should be finishing ahead of them. So really, for me, we should be targeting your Tottenhams and your Villas. As can we catch them? Can we get above them? And the answer is yes. So I'm not going to put a position on where I think we are going to be, but I'm going to say at least top 6 is what we should be targeting.
Is that your expectation, Pete?
Yeah, 100%. Back-to-back European seasons. Yeah. First and foremost, I'd love Champions League, but the target should be back-to-back European seasons. And who's to say that 5th doesn't get you Champions League football? And we're only 4 points off 5th. So we're still well in that conversation with Champions League, but minimum should be top 6, and that means back-to-back European season, which is massive because we've gone and done it again, as well as a Champions League season, as well as an injury rabbit season. All those things, we've backed it up, and that for me shows progress, which is what it is. And then we do it again.
Yeah.
I'll leave the questions there, Daz.
Yeah, I think we've covered it enough now tonight. And I know we didn't really delve an awful lot like we do in detail into the match, but you know what happened. There's no point in going through it all again. We will at the next one. But thanks for everyone for sticking with us on the Sunday night. And yeah, we are back. We're back tomorrow night, just to let you know what's happening. We're back with away days at 9:00. Tell us a bit more about this, lads.
Yeah, Vinny's back. Looking forward to coming back and joining us from the Milan Weekly podcast. So we're joining us 9:00 start. That just fits in with Vinny's sort of like work time because obviously he's based in Canada. So he's really looking forward to coming on and talking. Or he was until obviously the AC Milan result at the weekend where they lost 3-2 to Atalanta. So maybe not as happy to talk football as it was, but hey, we lost as well, so we can look ahead together. But I think that should be a really interesting chat. I'm interested to hear Vinny's thoughts on some of the players, their availabilities, and kind of what to expect from AC Milan away from home. So it should be a really, really interesting chat. So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And then on Wednesday night we have this. We have the big match. We're going to go for the watch along this time and to see where is our final destination. Now, an awful lot can happen on that night. We could be second, third, and fourth, and moving as the game progresses with both matches, with the Dortmund PSG match on at the same time. So that will be a fun one to watch. Let's hope we're back at home. Let's hope we can get a win and maintain our European adventure in some form. Hopefully even still in the Champions League. But let's see for that one. Watch-alongs are always good. Come and join us. And it's usually a bit quieter as well. We get to focus on what comes in the chat as well. So there's loads of time to jump in and out. So with both games on at the same time, we may, if we're winning and let's say Dortmund are winning or it's a draw, one of us might switch over to the other match so we can keep both games side by side. And we'll keep you informed of what's happening, and you're probably watching it along with us anyway. So that should be fun on hopefully on Wednesday night. So looking forward to that one. Then we're back in with the Fulham game and in terms of away days and reaction show again, and the show continues. Confirmed. We're back on away days Thursday night. So Pete, yeah,
Thursday 8:00.
Thursday night.
Emilio from
College.
Yeah, Cottage. Yeah,
College pie.
Yeah.
Let's make mincemeat out of them on the weekend.
He's one of the cottages. That's all we know. One of the cottages, but he'll be on. He's looking forward to it. So,
I know Emilio's a good guy as well. But yeah, that's it. Don't let us spoil the rest of your weekend. Thanks for sticking with us. Hit that like button on the way out, and we'll see you later. Good luck. How'd you like that?
How you like that?